Hello, dear lovely audience. Welcome back to another Kelly Ripa Show New Recap. Everyone, I know y'all have been waiting for this. Thank you guys so much for your patience. The wind swept Acrops the village green with a low, moaning whistle, bending the bare trees as though winter itself was warning the world to hush. It was late December in Ashdownmere, a sleepy English village that appeared on no tourist maps and preferred it that way. Cottages leaned into each other like old friends. The church spire pierced the dull sky, and at the edge of the village lay a patchwork of farmland and forest that locals simply called the Common. For more than a century, the Ashdown Boxing Day hunt had thundered through those woods, crimson jackets, polished boots, eager hounds, silver horns ringing over the frozen fields. Some villagers revered it as tradition. Others despised it as cruelty dressed up in pomp. Every year the argument flared, and every year the hunt went ahead anyway. But this year, something felt different. This year there was fire in the air. And that fire had a name, Chris Packham. Rumblings before the storm. 2 days before Christmas, the village hall overflowed with residents for an emergency council meeting. Folding chairs scraped loudly across the old wooden floor, and an undercurrent of tension rippled like static through the crowd. At one side of the room sat members of the Foxley Hunt Society, stiff-backed in their tweed. On the other, the newly formed Ashdown Wildlife Guardians huddled together, clutching clipboards and reusable water bottles like shields. Councillor Edith Burnley, a brisk woman with a steely bun, cleared her throat. "We are here," she announced, "to discuss an urgent communication received this morning." Murmurs rose. Everyone already knew. Word had traveled fast, faster than a fox evading the hounds. Rumors swirled that Chris Packham, the nationally beloved naturalist and fierce opponent of blood sports, had issued a blistering statement condemning the Boxing Day hunt. Even some, who quietly supported the tradition, felt a shiver of anticipation. Edith unfolded the printed page with dramatic slowness. To the Ashdownmere Council, it began. A hush settled. "It is with deep concern that I have learned of the ongoing Boxing Day hunt planned within your parish, a practice which, despite its glossy facade of heritage, stands in opposition to the values of compassion, ecological respect, and progressive stewardship that our countryside so desperately needs." Gasps fluttered through the hall like startled birds. The Foxley representatives bristled. Edith read on. "The evidence regarding the cruelty of fox hunting is unequivocal. The suffering inflicted, regardless of claims of tradition, is neither humane nor defensible. The British public has moved forward. It is time for Ashdownmere to do the same. I urge you, with all the moral authority of your office, to declare the Boxing Day hunt unwelcome and deny it any claim of legitimacy within your parish boundaries." At the bottom, Packham's signature seemed to burn off the page. Edith looked up. "As you can see, Mr. Packham has strong feelings." The room erupted, voices clashing like swords, chairs scraping, fists waving. For a moment the old hall felt like a battlefield where both sides believed themselves righteous. But one thing was clear. Ashdownmere would not emerge unchanged. 2. The huntmaster's fury. Master of the Foxley hunt, Lord Henry Cavendish, rose to his feet. Tall, silver-haired, and perpetually rosy-cheeked from wind and whiskey, he embodied Old English aristocracy in all its swagger. "This," he barked, brandishing the letter, "is nothing but celebrity meddling." He glared around the room. "Fox hunting is our heritage. It is a thread woven through the fabric of rural life. My father did it, his father before him, and the people of Ashdown have always welcomed us." A few loyal followers clapped. Cavendish continued, "Chris Packham sits behind a desk on television and pretends to know our countryside. But we," he thumped his chest, "live it. We protect these landscapes. Our hounds are trained, our riders disciplined, our methods legal." "Legal?" a voice shouted mockingly from the Wildlife Guardians. "Tell that to the foxes." Cavendish ignored them. He lifted his chin defiantly. "You cannot erase tradition because one TV naturalist writes a tantrum." Edith rapped her gavel. "Lord Cavendish, please keep your remarks civil." The huntmaster's cheeks brightened a shade. But he sat, still glaring daggers. 3. The wildlife guardians speak. Now came the turn of the opposing side. The wildlife guardian's spokesperson, a soft-voiced biologist named Mina Lawson, stepped forward. She carried no dramatic flourishes, only quiet conviction. "This isn't about celebrities," Mina began. "It's about ethics." She gestured toward the window, where the forest loomed in the dimming evening light. "Those woods are home to living beings, foxes, deer, badgers, owls. They feel fear, pain, stress. Pursuing a terrified animal for entertainment is not tradition, it's cruelty." The room rustled uncomfortably. She continued, "Chris Packham isn't telling us how to run our village. He is reminding us that the world is watching. Public opinion has changed. Most of Britain opposes hunting, and councils across the country are beginning to act." She placed a stack of petitions onto the table. "Ashdownmere can be a leader, or a relic." Her words struck a chord. Even some neutral villagers shifted, wondering where they stood. 4. Whispered conversations and winter light. After the meeting adjourned in a swirl of icy air and frayed tempers, the village hummed with speculation. In the Badger's Rest pub, the debate spilled between pints like froth. Farmers leaned against the bar arguing about rural rights. Teenagers whispered about uprising and tradition. Elderly residents reminisced about the hunts of old winters, cheers, horses, spectacle. But deep beneath the noise was something new: doubt. The Hunt Society had always assumed the council would eventually fold. They always had, after all. But Packham's fiery statement had changed the temperature of the entire village. Meanwhile, Mina and the Guardians met in her cramped cottage surrounded by maps and wildlife sketches. They strategized late into the night. "We didn't start this fight," she murmured, "but we're going to finish it." The weather turned colder. Frost feathered the village windows. Lanterns flickered along the main street. Boxing Day was approaching, and Ashdownmere had yet to decide its stance. 5. The council reconvenes. On Christmas Eve morning, the council gathered again in the hall. The sky was pale and bitterly clear, like frozen glass. Outside, villagers huddled, waiting for the outcome. Edith Burnley addressed the room. "We have reviewed legal frameworks, sentiment from residents, and the considerable attention Mr. Packham's statement has brought to this matter." Cavendish scowled. Mina folded her hands calmly. Edith inhaled. "This council recognizes that the Boxing Day hunt has long been part of local custom. However," the huntmaster shifted, "our duty is to safeguard the welfare of the wildlife within our parish, uphold our community values, and respond to evolving societal standards." She lifted a sheet of paper. "Therefore, by majority vote, the Ashdownmere Council declares that the Boxing Day hunt is not welcome within our boundaries." The hall froze. Then chaos erupted. Shouts, cheers, outrage, celebration, disbelief. Cavendish slammed a fist onto the table. "You've betrayed the countryside." Mina's eyes glistened, not with triumph but relief. Outside, word spread like wildfire. Some villagers embraced. Others muttered darkly. Reporters arrived by the hour. But the decision was final. The night before Boxing Day, the Hunt Society gathered at Cavendish Hall, firelight reflecting off the polished portraits of stern ancestors. The huntmaster paced like a caged bull. "They think a letter from a television presenter can undo us. We ride tomorrow," he roared. But even among his own ranks, uncertainty crept in. "Our route goes straight across council land," one writer whispered. "They've posted notices." "Will be reported," another fretted. Cavendish slammed his glass down. "So what? We are Foxley Hunt. We do not cower because Chris Flaming Packham sends a nasty letter." But the room remained hesitant. Something had shifted. The old certainty was gone. Meanwhile, in the quiet of her cottage, Mina stared out at the moonlit common. Fox prints dotted the frost. She whispered a small thank you into the cold night. To the foxes. To the council. Perhaps even to Packham. Tomorrow would reveal everything. 7 Boxing Day morning. The day dawned silver and still. A thin mist clung to the ground. Ashdownmere usually awakened to the distant echoes of hunting horns on Boxing Day. But this year, the village green was crowded with villagers, activists, journalists, and officials, waiting. The Hunt Society arrived in formation, their scarlet jackets stark against the muted landscape. Hounds strained against leashes. Horses pawed the earth. Cavendish rode at the front, jaw clenched. The council stood ready. Uniformed rangers flanked them. Edith stepped forward. "Lord Cavendish, the hunt has been formally declared unwelcome. You do not have permission to enter council land." Cavendish raised his chin defiantly. "We ride." Then came a new voice, calm, familiar. "Actually," the voice said, "you don't." The crowd parted. And there, striding toward them in a heavy coat, scarf whipping in the wind, was Chris Packham himself. Gasps, cameras clicked like cicadas. Cavendish's face blanched a furious pink. "You." Packham stopped a few feet away, hands in pockets, eyes sharp. "Morning," he said coolly. "Lovely day, isn't it? A perfect day not to terrorize wildlife." Cavendish sputtered. Packham continued, "Your council has spoken, the people have spoken, and so has basic decency." He gestured to the forest. "Those animals belong to nobody. They deserve to live without being chased to exhaustion for sport." Cavendish growled, "You have no authority here." "No," Packham agreed, "but common sense does." The tension crackled like static on frozen wires. The turning point. The riders looked to Cavendish. Then to Packham. Then to the mass of villagers watching. For the first time in the history of the hunt, the weight of public disapproval was heavier than the thrill of tradition. Riders shifted in their saddles, uneasy. One finally spoke.